So when you're beyond yourself, when you're not thinking of yourself, it just means that you're not thinking about what to say because you're worried about what the other person's gonna say. You can feel, you can express yourself freely, and so there are still thoughts because you're expressing them, you're talking about them, and you have feelings and you have instincts, but you don't feel bound. You actually just feel free to express them and you feel natural. And so that's what it means to be present, right? It's not a big deal. And I just want to talk about, so like whenever you feel like you don't have to worry about what you're doing, where you're not watching your thoughts, where you're not watching your feelings, where you're not, like trying to not do something, then you are selfless, you're free from the self, right? And so it's a very specific thing. So when we say that we're free from ourselves, so we are uh, beyond the self, that means that we don't have this obstructive thought, this observer clamping down on us and making sure that we're socially accepted, right? That in the eyes of others, that we're gonna be accepted and we're not making a mistake according to social norm or in view of the other person and things like that. And so if you think about your happy moments, you'll notice that your happy moments were not during moments when you're caught up wondering whether you're okay to just naturally be yourself, right? And so whatever activity it is you're doing, when you feel free to just be, right? Where you can just talk and you're not even thinking about the words, but they're just flowing out. And you're having fun. Oftentimes there's a sense of play, or there's a sense of focus. You really enjoy what you're doing, or you feel engaged. So that's interesting. And it's a good feeling. And so that's what it means to be present. So what you'll notice is that once you get started with something and you start doing it, oftentimes you're present. Now, the issue happens when you're having some kind of problems and you're caught up and you're not really enjoying or engaged with what you're doing, but you're feeling divided. And even though you're doing this, you'd much rather be doing something else. Or even though you're doing this, you can't focus on it because you're really caught up with something else. And so this state where we feel divided, where we're fixating on something and we're not able to be present with what we're doing, that is what it means to not be present. So that's kind of an example. So any state of mind where you're feeling divided against your own self, where you feel like different aspects of you are going in multiple different directions, that's that state of mind. That's what it means to not be present. So because you have, just because you're having thoughts doesn't mean that you're not present. And if you are present with your thoughts and you're not divided against yourself for thinking, you're fine. So the only thing about being present that's important to really consider is the simple thing of, do I feel unified with my own self? Do I feel unified in this moment? And you can actually feel conflict within yourself. But if you are present with your conflict and you like how you're being present with competing needs within yourself, that actually is being present. And so this is why it can be confusing. Sometimes you can have opposing thoughts like, you should do this. No, you shouldn't do this. However, most of the time we have fallen into our thoughts and we're caught up in our thoughts, and it's really difficult to be aware of how we're even feeling about having these opposing, conflicting thoughts. There's no peace, there's no sense of peace. And so to be present, if you're present that you're doing this and there are conflicting thoughts, and you relax and you study these and you're happy of how you're managing your conflicting thoughts, then there's no issue. You're good. So that's what it means to be present. Same thing with emotions. You can have all kinds of emotions. And oftentimes people think that the good emotions and bad emotions. But all emotions are good because all emotions are necessary. Negative emotions bring awareness to ourselves that our needs are not being met. That something about this moment um, is not working for us. And positive emotions tell us that our needs are being met and that whatever is going on in this moment really works for us. And so, therefore, we can be present with it. And so, um, if you will, there are two different kinds of feedback in terms of the kind of signaling we get through our actions from the world. There's corrective feedback, and then there's reinforcing feedback. Reinforcing feedback means what you're doing is working great, keep doing it. Those are the positive experiences that we have. Corrective feedback are basically don't do that. If you do that, there's going to be some kind of pain or something's not going to work. So, negative emotion is basically when you did something, but something about the interaction or the action didn't work. And then you're going to have negative feelings or bad feelings. But it's good because without it, whatever it is you're trying to make work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your job, or whether it's a project, whatever it is that you're doing, you're not going to be able to make it work. You're not going to have awareness because your negative emotions or pain. Pain is the instinctual communication. It's more just physical, or something about your physical body is being harmed. And so, discomfort, you need to adjust something. So, pain is for the instinct, for your physical body, and emotions is for your feelings, especially relationally speaking, to your own relationship with your own self and relationship with others. So that's what feelings are about. So negative feelings, is very important when it comes to having a relationship with either with yourself or others, or instinctual sensations or feelings, which is pain or pleasure, is for whether something is good for your body or not. And then negative thoughts or positive thoughts, basically whether the way you're approaching something, the way you're trying to approach the whatever it is you're approaching, is either working for you or it's not, or you're anticipating either it not working or you're anticipating that it will work. And so it's kind of got to do more with planning, strategic thinking, like basically strategies as to how you want to approach things and kind of your view. And so these are like the three different things that goes on, whatever it is we're going. And so if you are present with your feelings, and let's say for instance you're feeling sad and you're present with it, you will have a good sad experience. If you're feeling shame and you're present with it, you will have a good shame experience. If you're feeling embarrassed and you stay present with it, you will have a good experience feeling embarrassed, actually. And when I say good, I don't mean like, oh, it's like it's gonna be great. But what I mean is that you'll be satisfied. You'll be satisfied that you were able to sit with yourself. And if we use feeling embarrassed as an example, and you're just staying present with yourself, you'll be like, oh, that's why I was embarrassed. Now that makes sense. Looking at it, that's not such a big deal. I think I'm actually fine with that. Or you might be like, oh, that was embarrassing. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to do that again. But I'm really glad that I had this learning experience and that I was able to sit with myself. And so when you're present, you learn and you understand what's going on, and you can have peace, and you can have peace with how you are being with yourself, which is really, really important.